It is another great evening. Good evening to you, Dumelang Sanbonani Liperile. Tonight, it's a Thursday. It's the 12th of August. It's the 12th of October, 2017. Yeah, I'm quite backwards, eh? But otherwise, I'm back on time again. Tonight, it's a special broadcast, episode 9 of Let's Talk Justice, brought to you specially by Government Communications and Information System, as well as Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, along with Department of Correctional Services. Yes, tonight we are talking the correctional centers, the correctional services, and we are going to be educating more about the mandate of the correctional services, as well as to raise awareness on the rehabilitation in South Africa's correctional facilities, to highlight various efforts by the Department of Correctional Services in rehabilitation offenders, as well as to share the successes as well as the challenges experienced during the rehabilitation process. So tonight we are actually breaking the myth yoguthi uzoye jail. You know, that intimidating kind of notion that uzoye jail. And you know what happens in jail? Maybe you'll tell us. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Probably you've been in prison before, and there's this drama that I love very much on one of the radio stations. There is this big criminal man who hates the word prison. In fact, tronco, you know, he hates the word tronco. He calls it prison. And those who listen to Setswana radio station, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. My name is Musoto Stone. I will be with you up until 7:05. And I'm not alone tonight. Let me welcome Director of Skills Development in the Department of Correctional Services, Marian Johnson. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you so much. And of course, I have Usomlom. But otherwise affectionately known as spokesperson for the Department of Correctional Services. So remember that the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development goes along with the Department of Correctional Services. So there is one minister, there's one deputy minister. And basically it's two departments, but they basically do almost, they do the same thing hand in hand, and where Justice and Constitutional Development is actually advising on how the correctional processes need to happen. Good evening to you, Somlom, for Department of Correctional Services.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of inviting us.
Thank you so very much. His name is Singabako Ngumalo. Yes, if you want to speak to us, you can tweet us at DOJ_CD. Morena Victor Pala will be forwarding all those messages for me to broadcast them on air. Otherwise, if you want to talk to us directly, we are on a toll-free number. Only if you have a Telkom landline, it's 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. Otherwise, check us on Facebook page. It is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Thanks to all these radio stations that are taking part in the broadcast tonight, and also thanks to you for listening to this program, because you will not regret, you will actually emerge as a very informed person about correctional processes, and we will break all those myths as I promised you. Now let's get into things. Maybe if I start with you, Marion, on this one, maybe I should speak to you about this one. What is the mandate basically of the correctional services? Because we know before, people used to get arrested and we'll hear stories of them being beaten inside, of them being in Robben Island. People used to do that quarry over there, the political prisoners. What are we doing? It's 2017 now.
Once more, thank you for having us. Let us simplify, because at times when we say mandate, it sounds like a very big English.
Yeah, it sounds
rocket science. Our people can also understand where justice links up with correctional services. Mm-hmm. You know, let's say when a person has committed crime, trialed, or others may say prosecuted, and a sentence is meted out by the court, and then that person gets admitted in correctional services, then that's the value chain of the justice system.
That's right.
Hence, you have the two, departments under one ministry. What then becomes our mandate is that once that person has been sentenced, then correctional services is mandated to say, keep this person in a safe and secure custody. But keeping that person there, it's not to punish that person, because the sentence on its own is a punishment, because your freedom of movement is now limited.
Yes.
Now, they say, because you've got to understand that what you did was wrong. So now we've got to rehabilitate or correct that offending behavior. So that is our mandate, to say we keep you in a safe and secure place, and then we rehabilitate you, to say if your crime perhaps was in the line of, let's say, perhaps one, you steal something. Others may call you a thief or what. And then with us, we say, we don't just look at you as a thief, to say perhaps, we go deeper than that. Even psychologically, what could be, the root cause? Why will this person act in this manner? Hence, we have various services. We have your psychologists, social workers, all of them, to really understand, to say, what is the problem? Then how do you correct it? How do we correct it? Hence, our mandate is, centered around correction.
That's right. That's the voice of Ntate Singabako Ngumalo. He's the spokesperson of the Department of Correctional Services, highlighting and alluding and explaining in detail what does correctional services do. We're no longer calling them. What did we used to call them before, Ntate Ngumalo?
We used to call them actually Department of Prisons.
Yes.
Because the mandate was to basically warehouse inmates. And we no longer do that. Hence, so now we rehabilitate. We take someone who says, what, I've done so many, heinous crimes. And then we say, what, there's an opportunity for you to be changed and to make a positive contribution. And my colleague Cameron will then, take us through in terms of some of the programs, because it's not just the rehabilitation its own. There's an array of programs that we have to put into place so that we can really talk of serious rehabilitation.
Which is basically our second question, Marion. The programs that you have available at the Department of Correctional Services to address various educational needs, various psychological needs, there must be quite a whole range, which we will take more than an hour. But summarize for us just how you go about it, please.
We have the social work services, as mentioned by my colleague, as well as the psychological services, programs that are rendered to offenders who are addressing their offending behavior. But then we also have educational and training services available. Those education and training and services focus on the needs of the development needs of the individual. So as you enter the correctional center, there is an assessment, a risk assessment done, and then also during the risk assessment you identify which skills do you need to develop whilst you're incarcerated, and which educational needs do you have. Like, for instance, if you cannot read and write, we offer you the AED program. Previously, people called, or sometimes people refer to it as the ABIT program.
Right.
The AED program teaches the people how to read and write, basic functional literacy we focus on up to grade 9 level. After grade 9 level, you have the option to enter the mainstream education. You do your grade 10, 11 and 12.
Yes.
All of these programs offered by qualified educators, trained educators. As well as if you don't want to go the mainstream route, you have the option of entering the TVET college programs where you do engineering studies or business studies or NCV. The colleges outside, the TVET colleges, or sometimes referred to as the blade colleges that are outside there, our offenders also have access to those programs. And during that engineering and business studies courses, we offer them skills training. We have places of industries, workshops.
Yes.
Like the furniture that you have in here.
Yes.
We can manufacture those.
Wow. All right, 0800 142 446. We are talking correctional services processes. We're talking about the services that are being rendered inside, as well as probably in collaboration with people outside. You do work with various NGOs as well as other experts besides having your own, right, Maria?
Yeah, we won't be able to attend to the needs of our incarcerated population if it was not for the Department of Basic Education,
Yes.
Department of Higher Education, the various CETAs, various other stakeholders that come on board and are offering their services, Department of Tourism, Department of Arts and Culture. You know, recently we have the Fundam Zanzi
Yes.
Championships there in George.
All right.
Great
all right.
stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free number that you need to use if you're using your landline. However, if you're using your cell phone, kunosis nonhlanhla. Don't be surprised when you hear this big, deep voice. And then the next thing you hear somebody squeaking at you and say, hello, that's Sai. All right. Don't be surprised. It's still the same radio station that you're listening to. We have in Nonhlanhla on the telephones who will be able to take your numbers and get you to engage with the studio guest, Kin Tate Singabakho Ngumalo, as well as Marion Johnson. And Marion Johnson is the Director for Skills Development in the Department of Correctional Services, while Tate Ngumalo is the spokesperson for the Department of Correctional Services. Now, a lot of people would ask as well that, do you just train them or do they get certificates? Are they accredited? Is it something that you can use once probably, let's say you get parole, or maybe you get to be rehabilitated and finish your term and go into the community? Are you able to use that and say, but I'm qualified?
Remember I said we work with the Department of Basic Education.
Yes.
All the qualifications that a person incarcerated or a person achieve is equal to what is achieved outside.
All right.
So that we are writing grade 12. You had a show and there was an expose about our grade 12 examinations that will be starting on the 23rd of October.
All right.
So those guys that will be sitting for the grade 12 examination, they're sitting for exactly the same subjects. They will get exactly the same certificate issued by Umalusi for the grade 12
They
qualifications.
do the same curriculum that
Exactly.
everybody does.
Exactly. The same with the TVET college programs. The same examinations that will be starting and will be written by the TVET college students soon,
Yes.
from the middle of November.
Whoa.
We will be writing that examination as well. Now you're talking about the certificates. We are working with the CETAs. SASITA is supporting us to deliver accredited training through accredited training providers. So those certificates issued are not issued by the Department of Correctional Services.
Yes.
It's issued by the CETA, which issued or which appointed the service provider. And that skill is then aligned to that relevant skill acquired for he can or she can find work with that skill.
Before people get envious about what's happening inside prison, some of them might be running to do something just to get into prison to do it for free. Do you do it for free? Do they pay? Because education, Tate Ngumalo, it gets paid for. But what happens in terms of in prison?
What's happening is that in South Africa, access to education is a constitutional right.
Yes.
So we also use the same principle, for your grade 12 all the way down, those that is free. Yes, as you will get, in the outside community.
Yes.
But what's happening with those inmates who then take their education further with institutions of higher learning, they then get assistance from various institutions, from their families, and what all that we do is to support them, to say, I need to get hold of this particular institution and see if they can help me financially to further my studies. And most of them are performing very well, so they're able to get that form of assistance.
Yes.
So with us, from let's say whichever grade at the lowest level all the way to grade 12, that is free. But then when you move higher, then you need to get assistance elsewhere. But all that we do, we support them. Yes, we are not saying people must commit crime and come to correctional services. Those guys
to earn
in there,
free education.
yes, those guys and ladies in there, they will tell you that it's not an environment where you say, I'd rather be in there. You want to be out, and by us giving them all these training programs is basically to say, yes, we've offended the society, but we want to, when you live here, you make a positive contribution outside, not just for you, not just for your family, but for your community as well.
Underline this: rehabilitation. That is the main fundamental service that the correctional services. I'm getting to understand that rehabilitation is the main point. All right, let's hear from the callers. We start with Lydia from Limpopo. Lydia, do man. Awa, re hona re ka botšiša leng. Mme.
Ke gotela go tlisa ka nna le gore na e ka ba ke eng se ba se dirang as department go ruta setšhaba ka bohlokwa bja go amogela motho a lokolotšweng kgolegong o motho tla be a lokolotšwe ka parola goba bjang gore a kgone go amogelega mo setšhabeng, because ba bangwe ba boela kgolegong ka lebaka la taba ya go se amogelege mo setšhabeng, and le taba ya gore ba provoke sometimes.
Yes.
Ba feleletša ba dira ba bogale mo go bona, then ba dira dilo tše e leng gore a di amogelege, then ba violata di-conditions tša parola. So ke nyaka go kwešiša gore bona ba dira eng. And the second question ke ya gore go kgonega jwang gore di-drugs goba tsona diokobatši di tsene ka kua kgolegong. Ke a leboga.
Ke lebogile thata Lydia. O mametse radio FM? Mohodi FM. Re leboga thata ko senwa barwana. Thank you so much. Ko bogo momme. Ke lebogile. Thank you. And we move on to the Western Cape in the Eden District. We're speaking to Mabuti. Mabuti.
Good day, sir. How are you?
Giyaphila kunjani tata? So right, man.
Thank you. I just have two questions. A quick one, just to tell more, how far are they in terms of the victim and offender dialogue? They are so quiet about that dialogue. Is it working or it's not working? Secondly, about the correctional services learnership. Last year they said that they're going to, give an opportunity to those who have done with the matrics or grade 12 to be part of the Department of Correctional Services. Are they going to take those available next year?
All right. And you're listening to Eden FM, I suppose?
And Eden FM.
Thank you so very much, Dad. All right. Okay. Babu Ngumalo, they started with you over there. Education of the society about accepting, I don't know to call them ex-offenders now that they are rehabilitated. You will correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
Thank you for those 3 questions in total.
Yes.
What's happening is in correctional services we have something that we call social reintegration. And even when you go to our white paper, it will say corrections is a societal responsibility, because we understand that correctional services alone will never win this battle.
Yes.
We need the community to play its part. We need business, we need all sectors. Hence, you have other institutions supporting us, in our programs. Then what's happening is that when an inmate is then released or placed on parole, it's a process, a transitional process to say, you've been rehabilitated, now we're taking you back to the same community that one may say, you're offended. Yes, we do get challenges where people say, you know what, people still call me Pandintis, call me all these sorts of names. And then Umbulali, and others will not even walk in the same, side of the road because we are being scared of.
Quite very soon.
Yeah, so it then says to us, we need to do more in terms of public education to say, give this person a chance. This person has been rehabilitated, so that at least then this person can even prove to say, you know what, I've got a role to play in society. So what we then do, for instance, it differs as you move from one province to another, from one region to another. For instance, in Limpopo, we have a fantastic program where when inmates are being released, yes, they may be released like in groups, but there is an engagement with your local structures, where your Mahoshi, and then, so with Baba inform her, you know about so and so, who has been, in prison for so many years. Muto has been rehabilitated. So, Rukupalim Feng chance.
Yeah.
And then accept this person. it's working. It even talks to, there was a question on victim-offender dialogue. If I can explain it a bit.
Yes, please.
What is happening now, when Mr. Masuta came into office, it has said it doesn't really help to say we just release people where there is no cause, where we try to reconcile the perpetrator of crime and the victim, so that at least they can find, can start a process, of forgiveness. Because you will know, in most cases, crime happens between people who know each other.
Yes.
Even, amongst families and all that. So to say,
Right.
you've got to find a way to, hence then now, we no longer just release people on parole if they haven't started with that process of victim-offender dialogue. It doesn't necessarily mean that when the two meet, they'll say, okay, it's fine, I forgive you. Others, it takes time. Others may say, okay, no, I understand, I've forgiven you. To say, but just to get that process started. As I'm talking to you today, we were in not far from Sibasa,
Yes.
where we had a victim offender dialogue session. You have your there's the reverends there, you have psychologists, you have social workers, you have all specialists, because it's an open process. We have the community members there, they sit there and they engage in this process to say, we have this inmate who's saying, to the victim, I'm deeply sorry for whatever that I did to you. And all I need is forgiveness. I also have to apologize to the community. Hence then, and that process, I can say to our call, I think from the Western Cape, it is ongoing. Perhaps what we need to do more is to publicize it more. But the challenge, these are very, very sensitive.
And also
processes.
maybe if I can just throw in there, the timing. You find that you're doing this thing at 10 o'clock during the day, only to find that people are at work. Where do you find time to actually try to solicit various members of the society to be part of this?
Our most reliable avenue is the local structures.
Yes.
Find that there are established local structures. So we use them, because even when we say, we don't just decide as correctional to say we are going to use that hall. We go to them and say, this is what we need to do. Please work with us. They will then assist us in terms of, if for instance, like the session that we had today in terms of victim offender dialogue.
Yes.
So, but we'll never get tired of reaching out to as many people as possible to say, come and be part and parcel of this. I don't know whether you can allow me to talk about another issue which was raised, the issue of drugs.
Please,
in
please.
prison.
Just include it also as crime
As
and
crime,
everything
yes.
else, because there's quite a lot of business going on according to what we see on TV. Lockdown
Yes.
is showing us quite a lot.
Yes. What's happening is that in our centers, there's 3 categories of people going in there. You have our officials, you have visitors, and then you have inmates. So it means whatever that goes in there, which is not allowed to be there, we call it contraband. It means those 3 categories are the ones responsible. And we are not even shy as a department to say some of our officials, have been caught, transporting some of these contrabands. And we have dealt with them. Because imagine if you take drugs in a closed environment like that. Once that inmate is high, you don't know what that person is capable of doing.
That's right.
So we've got to, hence our mandate is to ensure that we keep them in a safe and secure environment. So if you take in things like drugs, it means you have compromised the security of the system.
Yes.
Hence you deal with them. So when we get such items, we remove them, and we never rest up until we know how those things got inside. And it's unfortunate that some of these things are mostly brought in even by the visitors, people who come to visit, and always say, please. Hence now what we've done is that once we've caught a visitor taking something, yes, we'll have to open a criminal case against you, but we also, others what will say, blacklist you.
Yes.
To say this person is no longer allowed in our centers because we are bringing us stuff that we do not want.
We'll talk about vetting just later on if your service providers are being vetted, but let's leave it a little bit. I just want Marion to touch on the learnership and internship program that Maputi actually asked about. There was quite a lot of information. I think, Ntate Ngumalo is going to take that one up because I think he's more vested to deal with it. Yes.
Yes, the learnerships, we introduced them for good intentions. But I must say that what has happened is so unfortunate, where there's been bogus,
Yes.
adverts and stuff, people being conned of their monies, give us 3,000, we'll secure, space for you. We've tried to deal with such, but what is happening is that as a department, we say, we understand there's so many young people in our country who are unemployed. So our learnership program target, young people between the ages of 23 until 35. Why 23? Here we're looking at someone who's been out of school for a while, so you know what, I've been looking for a job. You know, when you take such a person, give that person a chance, that person will not waste that opportunity. Unlike a 19-year-old who say, no, I'm still exploring, I'm still deciding what is it that I want. Yes, we don't close, them out, but, that's how we've opened up. So that process is still ongoing. Yeah, to our caller, that process is still ongoing. I know that some provinces have done, the short listings. I think they've really invited those people for interviews. But I can say to that person, they mustn't lose hope. The process is ongoing.
All right. This is a special program. If you have just joined us, welcome. It's Let's Talk Justice, your weekly program that deals with issues mainly about the legal, the constitution, and our law matters, as well as it's in collaboration with the correctional services. Tonight we are talking correctional services and its services, as well as its programs, and we are joined by Mayor Marion Johnson. She's the Director for Skills Development in the Department of Correctional Services. And then we have Ntate Singaba Kongumalo. He's the spokesperson for Department of Correctional Services. Let's take the callers. Mark from Pietermaritzburg. Hello, Mark.
Msakaza ngibonge leli thuba lelonginikeza lona ngibingelele kuwena nakubaba uNcumalo nakumama uJohnson.
Siyakwamukela.
Ngilalele kumgungundlovu 107.6 FM, the sound of choice of KZN capital.
Thank you so very much.
Engizosala kona ngiyabonga kakhulu lezi zinhlelo esinethela zona, ngumlalelo omkhulu walezi zinhlelo lezi za government ngoba siyasifundisa futhi siyakwazi ukuxoxa.
Great stuff.
Mina okokuqala ngicela ukukubuza ake sithi nangoke mhlawumbe umfowethu noma mhlawumbe udadewethu olaphana kwi-correctional center usefundile washintsha isimilo sakhe wa-right walibona iphutha lakhe alenza wafunda umatric waqeda. Umnyango wezokuhlunyiswa kwezezimilo ikuphi wona okwenzayo ukuthi lo muntu mayesephuma ngaphandle mhlambe esene-degree kade lapha ngaphandle ukuthi athole umsebenzi ngoba inkinga la ababhekana nayo abafethu abaningi it's a criminal record. Lo muntu bephakathi une-criminal record akaqashile kwezinye indawo, angeke futhi bebeke inkahla ngoba bo-CV mobile i-CV kuyabhala ukuthi wakwaboshwa, angeke uqamba amanga kwi-CV ngoba bayakwazi ukuyi-pick up. Bona basiza kanjani abafethu laba abakade beboshiwe sebephumela ngaphandle ukuthi bekwazi bethola imisebenzi ngoba inkinga i-criminal record. Okwesibili, ikuphi abakwenzayo ukuthi uma umuntu ephume sebuyele emphakathini ukwazi ukuthi umphakathi umamukele athathe lo umuntu akade onile athiwe kuleyo mphakathi kube khona ukubuyisana ngoba kusekhona siye sikubone kwenzeka emphakathini esihlala kuyona ukuthi hayi isiboshwa lesi yabona
even 20 years down the line you still isbosh.
Yes yabona ikuphi abakwenza ukuthi kube khona i-restoration of justice phakathi kwalabo abantu bobabili owoniwe nalo munye futhi ohlukumezekile ngoba useselibonile iphutha lakhe naye lapha ngaphakathi. Kunabantu abaningi abangaphakathi, abanye bayathanda ukushintsha, abanye abathanda ukushintsha. So bakhona bayimisela ngempela umuntu ukuthi alibone iphutha uma sifunda ngamaphutha. Umbuzo wami esibili loyo ngizolalela kumsakazo Mgungundlovu FM. Ngiyabonga kakhulu umsakazo.
Ngibonga kakhulu Mark from Pietermaritzburg, listening to Mgungundlovu Radio. And we move into Klerksdorp. Komadlera. Mr. Tsepse.
That is so.
Lega mrenat. Hantla holo mre.
Destiny puso aka man. Puso aka kina puso pekiri kina ishama kaisa. Puso aka ya pili. Department of Correctional Services. Ana khanji kura ha khona khalo na kungwe ba ka ba le di khona le di khoba di meeting le borra mesebetsi. Go ba tswa ile khone ba tswa ko di kholegelo. Gore ba tswa mo correctional. Gore ba ka khona go ba amogela because since ba itse ba khona go ba amogela because in most cases ba tswa fetsa ba ka kwala mara ba batla mesebetsi because of the criminal record ba ka tswa ka tswa ha ba khona go amogela.
Yeah.
Ba khona ka tsela ba ka khona go bua le bo ra mesebetsi gore at least gore ha o tswa ba tswa kwala ba khona go ba amogela se putswa ka pele. Putswa ka ya bodi go botsa ana ga bana database ya batho ba ile gore ke itse ba bangata ena ke itse go ba ile gore itse ba le under correctional. Aba le kwa le ke ba go dira di-skills ke ba le ba bangwe ba ka marotho ba tsa dintho tse ga ba fetsa go tswa a ba kgona go ba monitora ba tsile gore ana di-skills tse ba di tshotseng kwale ba di sebedisa and then if le gore ba kgona go etsa because ne ke shebile ke bua le monna o mongwe o under correctional and then o na le o itse le business na ra itse le business ga di tender tsa bo correctional service tsa bo go ba ka tsa and then mo ntse tsa tsona tsone batho bana ga ba kgone gore ba kgone go sheba pele ba tsela gore ba ba rutile mesebetsi ba le under correctional ba rutile mesebetsi ba le ka ka mo di tse ba di gore di tender tsena maybe because of ga ka ngata ba tsela mesebetsi ba ka kgone go ba shebela pele gore no di tender tsena mesebetsi ne tsenya go ba ka ya go di ba di tse di teng go botshelong kwa ba kgone go fa bone pele ke tse ba kgone go itsebelela
ke go tlile morena tshepo ke gone fela go okay o tla boa gape ga e baneng o utlwa seng o utlwa motšhiso ntate o tla kena motlotlwaneng gape ke reditse thata ke lebogile thata Live FM it's based in Klerksdorp. Thank you so very much, sir. All right, we got 4 questions, Marion, and maybe for those who did not get the languages, let's just put it a bit in Isingisi, and also. But this is the last time I translate for South Africans. This is the very last time I translate for South Africans, bona fide South Africans, all of you. You need to be knowing all 11 languages. Sorry, but I do. Thank you so much. Rehabilitation. Once a person is rehabilitated, they're ready. They've gone through Marion's process. They are like this. But ready for this, to go out to the world. Now, do you assist them with the reference? Let me put this one to Marion, because he knows them better. She knows them better in terms of the processes and the skills. Do you give them references? Do you give them support when they now out there looking for umsebenzi, for work? And also, are you also, is it within the law to actually, in a CV, Mosotho Stone has to put Marion and Tate Ngumalo for my next employer to say, you will be speaking to you and her about the character that Mosotho Stone is. Please take us through that one.
Okay, when we train people, give them skills, they work in places of industries. We have workshops, like I had indicated to you. We have workshops that are manufacturing, example, furniture.
Real practical stuff.
Real practical stuff. The real McCoys.
Yes.
They, in Boksburg, we manufacture trolleys made from steel.
Whoa.
In Kroonstad, we use stainless steel to manufacture those bowls that people eat out of. So what then happen is, when a person do the skills, he gets a reference letter from the person or from the workshop manager.
That's right.
So there is a reference letter. On that reference letter, you will indicate all the qualifying skills that he had acquired during their time. So if a place of industry is looking for a welder, they're looking for a welder, they will test you. Remember, when you apply, you must declare whether you have a criminal record. But if you are looking for a job and you are honest, obviously people can, or they may, most probably evaluate you based on, let us be real here. Let us be real. They will evaluate you because
you just
have a
any
criminal
other person,
you just like
they need to verify.
They need to verify. Now they put you through an assessment test. You are a qualified welder. You're the best welder. What will the employer take? The best welder. So ultimately, it's about the skill that you acquire. So don't waste your time while you are in prison by not getting the acquired skills. And remember, you have a criminal record, and that is the reality. Declare.
That's right.
I know about a lot of people coming from, also I worked at Hosimampuru, a lot of people that got jobs. And they did not return back to prison because they got qualified jobs, they declared, and they are now working in places of industry.
You would never even think that they were ever in there.
They were never in there, but they used their time positively, and they used their time to acquire the required skills.
Right. Let's mix it up with that one where they say, can they be employed by government? And also looking at things like there's also tender applications out there, doing business with government, are they able to do that without this tainting them or sitting somewhere at the back of their head?
Mtaka Baba, I think that was a question from Mark.
Yes.
With some respect.
Yes.
We get these questions more often, and we always say there is nothing in the law in this country which says a person with a criminal record cannot be employed. There is nothing in the law. All that is required is for that person to declare, to say, I've got a criminal record, I did this number of years. And then, and that is a start. In actual fact, you don't have to wait for that possible employer to ask you. You've got to declare it up front to say this. So, and going back to the question where Umakebe Buzuguti, how do we assist ex-inmates to reintegrate back into their communities?
Please.
You'll be amazed, we had Imbizo in 2016 in Dawinia,
Yes.
where we had an inmate from Kalagabusha prison to motivate young people there to say, don't commit crime. Being in prison is not nice. The way that he spoke, when people had to ask Minister questions, many people were saying, Minister will want you, when this young man is being released, to come back to us and inform us that this young man is now back, which then highlighted to us the need to say we've got to engage with our communities more often, so that people get to understand, so that they don't look at them as eyes Boshra and stuff. So this will even assist in such ex-offenders with skills to get involved in small businesses, starting co-ops, things like, because they've got skills. Yes. One day we were with the vice chancellor and rector of UNISA, Professor Makani. He asked someone to get him someone to do his amakabete ending.
Yes.
And he said he couldn't believe it, how beautiful the whole thing was. And he asked this man, where did you learn to do this thing? Where's your certificate? He said, yeah, of course, certificates, but I learned it in prison. He was shocked because he didn't know that, you can get such skills.
You can actually get skills like that.
Yes. So there's a number of anecdotes, and there's a number of people who usually come forward and say, in my company, I've employed this number of ex-inmates, and they're doing a marvelous job, because these people are hungry for an opportunity. The moment, they get it, they hold on to it like we'll never believe.
Yeah.
And we always encourage our inmates to say, you are not only looking at getting employment, start something. Yes, we know there are challenges in terms of accessing funding, but those who find a way to do it, I can tell you.
All right. And now, Tsepo also asked about the database of offenders under correctional services, that once they out, is there a certain monitoring that happens in terms of skills, of course, and also in terms of rehabilitation, to say, do you monitor the skills that you have given to them and see how they progress, or once they have qualified, they've qualified and that's it?
Okay, let us also come back. Community corrections, they monitor their movement and to make sure that they adjust by the terms and conditions of which they got when they got their parole.
Right.
Then another side, if you see yourself as an ex-offender, you are trying to look for a job. Do you want the prison warders to follow you all over the show?
It's not ideal.
It's not ideal. So what is happening? We are giving them the opportunity to reconnect with their communities, with the society. And remember, how did many people get a job? We know people who knows people, where the advert, who knows other people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I can come back to that one, is what skill do you have? I know about somebody who has his own business, roofing business. He's doing he's painting roofs, he's waterproofing roofs, started his own business because he realized that work is not out there and I must create my own opportunities. So he used his skill that he had, and also he is used by other government departments. He is a tenderpreneur. Today, he's driving a much better car than I'm driving.
Yes,
but the most important part here is on the tender documents, is there any way where you have to declare, I'm now asking you, did you apply for a tender where you have to declare that you have a criminal record?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. Thank you so very much. This is a conversation between Mayor Marion Johnson. She's the Director of Skills Development in the Department of Correctional Services, as well as and that is spokesperson for the department. I know he doesn't like the title, but hey, that's the title. It is the title we gotta use. Umsebenzi baba. Hey, usomlo. Usompempe. All right, I'm enjoying this very much. Okay, let's go to the vow. Panga.
How are you, my friend?
Retenle kae malome?
Yeah, mana rete man msalwaka.
Bontle boswe ubuphepha mre.
Yeah, no, that man. We are so happy to be talking to you once again.
Thank you so much.
And then that Numalo.
Yes. And Mayor Marion Johnson as well, right?
Yeah, Ma'am Johnson, I can hear she's a very vibrant mother. She's
most definitely.
All pieces together and then rectifying the mistakes in our community.
You hear, Ms. Johnson, people who can actually paint a picture of people on radio. That's Panka for you.
Now, I just have one question, and then it will sound like the question that has been asked, but mine it is not the same as one that has been asked.
Okay, sir.
I just wanted to know if a person has qualified as a lawyer with degree in prison, and we know for the fact that in South Africa, if you want to become a lawyer, you are not supposed to have a criminal record. What is then going to happen with that person who qualify as a lawyer in prison with a criminal record? Are they going to admit him or her?
Okay, Mayor Johnson is going to take it. Listen on the radio, Mrana Panga.
That I will do, my brother.
Thank
you so much.
Since you refer to him as Malume.
Yeah.
Yes, uncle.
He's an uncle.
Yeah,
no.
No,
and
you don't. And he doesn't sound like one.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. He or his son is a qualified lawyer.
Yes.
So what they must do is they must write to the bar in the district that they are falling in, and they must make their case. Because I know about 3 guys who had written to the bar, and exceptions can be made. But that is not for me to decide. That is for the bar to decide. So they must write, because it depends on the nature of the crime that they had committed.
Yes. So would he be limited or maybe denied to practice once actually, or probably there will be a certain level where they will say you don't go beyond this or you don't go beyond. What's the situation? Remember
what I said? He must write and
state your case.
State your case and make a presentation. And you cannot just become a lawyer. There are certain steps that you have to follow. You have to do your articles, and then you have to do. You practice within a company or you start your own business. For that to be and for you to be accepted to the bar, this is where you state your case. And do you assist them to actually do that process, or does it end where you just support them in terms of just study? Remember, they are studying through a university, and the various universities are having that support structures to take them further. Then what is your role once the person is at the university? Whilst they are incarcerated, we give them all the supportive needs that they require. We have established 14 UNISA hubs in conjunction with UNISA, where they have online access to their studies. So they real-time online, just like the people outside, but remember, this is where, they are in prison. Their times are only limited to the time when there's freedom of movement within the correctional center. Say for instance, they will have access from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, depending on the time that the prison is closing. But we are offering them that support while incarcerated. All right. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Let's go to Ndwedwe. Mama Chola? Ninjani ma?
Siyaphila mkhulu, ninjani?
Hawu siyaphila impela, siyajabula ukuamukela.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Ngiyabonga. Hey. Okay, ukhona ubaba uMnqumalo no Mayor Johnson.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu baba.
Okay, man.
Ngilalele lapha kwi-Siyathutuka 97.6 FM.
Thank you to Siyathutuka. It's based in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yebo baba.
All right.
Ngicela ukubuza kubahlonishwa bami ukuthi umuntu bambona kanjani ukuthi useredi ukuphuma ngeparole, ngoba abanye bathola iparole uthole sebenza amacala anzima nahlasisayo bese ngeparole bese bebuyela ngaphakathi. Yini le ababona ngayo ukuthi usefanele ukuphumela emphakathini? Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Ngibonga kakhulu Mama Majola from Ndwedwe, listening to Siyathutuka Community Radio. And before we answer Mama Majola, let's go to Atteridgeville, just down the road in the west. Barakiko Peli. Bratibo. Tabo.
Hello, Ntate Mosotho.
Eh, le kae malone?
Re teng Ntate Mosotho.
Bontle.
Yes, ke a leboga for this informative program. Ke founa ke le go Atteridgeville go utlweletse Pheli FM.
All right, re lebogela Pheli FM, one of our newest members.
Yes, ke kopa go botsa ke le di-question tse di fela.
Okay, Dad.
Yes, it doesn't work because correctional service ba partner le community organization, like for example the NGO, or ba rute batho ka dilo tse di etsagalang ko jele le gore batho ba especially youth ya rena gore ba boite go ka maybe o ka etsa di-criminal things tse dingwe gore ba ka enda ba le ko jele. And then the second question ya ka ke go botsisa gore ka gore members of the public ya allowed to go ka maybe o ka register go o ka ya kontenya go correctional service maybe gore skills development tse dingwe gore ba di offerang members of the public ba ka gona o ka di tsenela.
All right, Morenaka.
Yes, ke a leboga.
Ke lebogile thata Morena Thibo from Kopeli in Atteridgeville. There it is.
Yebo baba. Ngizoqala ngomama Ndwedwe, umama Majola.
Okay.
It is quite sad when we see people that have undergone the entire programs inside our centers, and then we do proper assessment, and then we're convinced that no, this person, can be placed back, in society.
Yes.
And then in a matter of days, we hear, no, this person is back because he's committed another crime. But we understand there are various factors to that. One being that others find it hard to adjust. Because now they're used to the prison environment. When they get out, people don't want them there. No opportunities for them. They have to...
They feel like they don't belong.
Yes, they have to sleep in an empty stomach. No one is even willing them to give like a plate of food.
Just like...
Because others, their families would even desert them. So those, they find an excuse to say, what, let me just commit another crime so that I can go back. At least I'll have 3 meals a day. So which is sad. Hence, we want our communities to work with us so that, we can break the cycle of crime. Because we don't want people in correctional centers. So I will say to Mama, there are processes that are involved when we determine whether the person is ready for parole placement. Another thing that we need to explain is that parole is not a right. It is a privilege that we have to do that assessment once you have served at least the minimum or half of your sentence.
You don't just wake up and say,
no, to say, so and so, come forward. If you are given, let's say, 12 years and you have served 6 years of that, which is the minimum requirement, and then now we have to check where your suitability to be placed back. If we are not convinced that you are rehabilitated enough, we'll not place you on parole, and we'll give you the reasons why not. So, but then such cases that will happen where people go through processes, they qualify, and then unfortunately the situation is so hard for them, they come back, which is very unfortunate.
Right.
And then on the second question of Obaba from, I think, Apel.
Yes.
Partnerships with community organizations are key. Yes. There's a number of organizations that we work with. But I must be frank and very brutal with this. More often we confront challenges where some of these organizations will want to partner with us with hope that will benefit something financially. We're a government department. So if you want to work with us to say, this is what I want to contribute, we welcome that. But to say, I want to work with you, but I would want to reimburse me financially, then it becomes a bit of a challenge. Yes. That's when at times we find that now, this conflict, there's such challenges. But we gladly welcome community organizations, and some work very well with them, especially with the Christian fraternity, or let's call it religious fraternity.
Let's put it
that
way. Yeah.
And then in terms of members of the public benefiting from the skills that we offer in our centers, it was in 2016 where Minister Masuta then engaged on a roadshow moving from one province to the other, saying there is nothing preventing young people who live around our correctional centers to benefit from those skills. If I were to explain this, for instance, let's say a correctional facility like Boksburg will operate from, let's say, from 7 a.m. until 1400, 2 p.m.
Yes,
Then
yes.
thereafter, then they will close and go back to the cells. It means that workshop is now closed until the following day. Remember, it's 2 p.m. So then the minister was saying there is nothing preventing members of community, especially young people from those communities, to then come in from, let's say, from 3 p.m. maybe up until 5 or 6 p.m. benefiting from the same type of trade or skills, that inmates, are getting. But it's a project which is very, it's in early phases. It's something that, as we move along, will intensify, so that, in the countrywide, it's something which is standard, so that
Yes.
it's not in pockets. You get it in Boksburg, you don't get it in the Western Cape, but it's something that, we are fully working on.
All right. Thank you so very much. We almost running out of time, and I got 2 more callers that we need to be talking to. Let's start with Morena Lebogang, go tswa Joe Qabi districts that will be in Aliwal North.
Ntate Stone,
Morenaka,
wa teng.
ke phetse le kaina.
A monate se ebile ke dumedisitse. Ke na le potsonyana tse
Ntate.
mmalwa, la tse ding dipotso ke di utlwile di botswe empa ke a utlwa dikarabo hantle.
A re no re tla hobane re na le 5 minutes fela ndate.
Ka pelenyana.
Ka pelenyana.
Ona le ntho e tsalang e re bonang batho ba ahlolwa. Motho a ahlolwe bo 10 years ka tlase ka hobane a maybe o bolaile. A ntshuwa so qete 10 years eno o thuke parole montshang. A pheka yetse the same thing hape. Wa etsalang hantle mono ke yona potse batlang motho ba kana motho a sa kwalletswa ntshuwe a pheka ka kwallo a ntshuwe ke ntho tse tsalang sentle. And then ke bone program e ke a o katela ena potse ke botsa program entle ene yetsuwa Stone ane ke le mona Free Starter for the program mona nkwe batho bana ba bofumana ngore ba hlekefeditswe le maammo le motho yeno a hlekefeditseng kapa a ile a etsa ntho a ipule bogore ba ipulele dibi tsa bona hara setšhaba ba rekodiwe mane a ba kope tshwarelo. That program, when are they going to take it back to the community? Because yes, it's painful on the other side, but on the other side, it is helpful for the community. But one those people, the criminal, the rapists, all those things, if they can come back with that program again and buy it regularly, it can the community and more the correctional service, including parole board.
Ntate Lebogang Khasipe ke leboile thata ka nnete wa tseba positive conversations like this. I wish South Africa could be like this 24 hours a day. Yeah, but anyway.
Yes, well, quick one. I see we don't have time. The last question from Baba was, it's the issue of victim offender dialogue.
Yes.
It's something that I committed that as a department we'll have to find means to profile it more and also to get more of our members involved, the committee members, because it's a need and we see that people appreciate it. It's something that we really have to drive it quite aggressively. On the issue of repeat offenders, so people who we place on parole, they come back. Hence, we can not, I don't know if there's a better way to explain this, to say corrections is a societal responsibility.
Yes.
The community has to play its role, accept ex-offenders.
When you talk about that, just excuse me on that one. When you talk about that, I hear a normal quote that we always say, umuntu ngubuntu ngabantu. So it's a societal thing.
Responsibility, yes.
Wonke umuntu is involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uphumile lo muntu ejele, let us all to say baba sikunceda kanjani so that na uzokwazi ukwenza contribution yakho la ku society. Remember, because we are saying no inmate should leave our center with nothing. You must have a paper on it to say this is the qualification or certificate in terms of the training that you call, and the skill on the other hand. So that, that second chance is something which is realistic. Yes. Then we can, that's how we can defeat this phenomenon of repeat offenders. A person placed on parole, within months this person is back. Because in most cases, it's because of the environment that they find out there that they find it hard to adjust.
Thank you so much. Let's take Percy, he's our last caller tonight. Mr. Pes,
Hello, sir.
how are you doing?
I'm fine, and you, sir? Come again, sir?
I'm saying I'm all good. I tried to do it in his course. Ulenox taught me something, but yeah, my tongue failed me.
So you can't come back to me.
No, you're saying you are our last caller. Please switch off your radio because it's actually telling you something that's outdated.
How are you, Mr.
I'm very fine. Malmelinda. Yeah, we got quite a very bad line
was
over
very
there.
bad there,
I think
yes.
he doesn't even. I
Maybe
tried
it's in
to
the
do.
wind.
Yeah, I tried to do something in his course and probably it went distorting or something. Yeah,
Yes, okay.
but anyway, that's fine. All right. Let's just talk lastly, Marion. You have successes, factual successes. Just highlight some of them.
Let me give you one recent one.
Yes.
We are partnering with the Tshwane North College
Yes.
with learnerships. Remember,
Wow.
we were told just previously that we have places of industry which can be open to community. We have a learnership program with the Tshwane North College where offenders, parolees, and community members are working side by side in a 1-year learnership program on agriculture and on wood finishing.
Wow. Great stuff indeed. If you are actually looking for furniture, start considering that, right? If you're actually looking for somebody to paint for you, consider that. If you're looking for someone in terms of various careers that Marion has already alluded to over an hour, please, how do we get to have a database? Somebody asked that, or to say, how do we get to have a database of qualified people who have been there before? Because some of the people might want to take interest in actually saying, I'm dealing with no one else but the people who have been rehabilitated.
We always have information, because remember Maron did mention a branch which we call community corrections.
Yes.
Which you find in almost all towns where you see a small Anyana port, correctional services, community corrections.
Yes.
Walk in that office and say, look, I'm looking for a carpentry, qualified carpentry. You will get an ex-offender with the qualification. You say, I'm looking for a motor mechanic. Here in Jose Mampur, you know,
Yes,
we've
yes,
got-
I've been there. I've been there before.
So we have, if a correctional facility like Boxback can produce more than 30 artisans in
Yes,
2
right.
years, there is
Sure.
nothing preventing a municipality to say, we've got a shortage, give us some of those artisans, let us employ them to assist us.
And then, what are some of the things that we're still grappling with, honestly, so in terms of making this a model for the world to actually envy?
No, for instance, with me, as someone who more working mostly with people, it's the stigma, where people still look at us to say, hey, Kima Pandinti is Bosho and stuff. If we can try to find a way, to do away with that, to say these are normal human beings who've been rehabilitated. All they need is just a second chance in life. Give them that chance. Then people will start then to learn more about such programs that Marion, took us through. To say if someone can go there without grade 5 and go all the way to get matric and even a tertiary qualification or a skill, there's nothing that can really stop us. So that's the only way we can break the cycle of crime, so that at the end of the day we can say now we have a free South Africa which is also safe from crime, where women can walk free on the street without fear that someone may attack me. If you don't want to give ex-offenders a second chance, unfortunately it's going to take us time to say now we have a country which is free from crime.
All right.
Can I just quickly
please.
ask you something?
Yes,
if
please.
anybody out there have a family member in a prison, make sure that he or she starts studying. It's available.
Make use of that time.
Make use of the time.
Thank you so very much. That is Marion Johnson, Director, Skills Development for Department of Correctional Services, along with the spokesperson, Ubabu Somlomo, Singabako Ngumalo. Very, very articulative and very, very positive indeed. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great work. And I'm going to ask Ubabu Victor at some point to actually arrange that we speak about the Correctional Services Code of Conduct And some of the things, the scary things that we get to hear outside, and those scary walls. I always go to Khosi Mampuru, but you know, those walls, they do scare me. So we will talk about all those code of conduct, the law that governs people being there, and I think it would be quite a very informative program, Murana Victor. Thank you so much to my lovely guests, and it's been great.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we're always available to the public.
All right. Thank you to all the contributors, and sorry to Ntate Pesi over there. We had a very bad line, Ntate, and we wish we could have taken, probably you came up with something that was going to open our eyes. But don't be despair. We have this every Tuesday. We have this on every Thursday. At some point, let's talk about this, and let's enlighten each other. Let's make each other wise. Let's share the wisdom. And remember, that offender in correctional services is somebody's uncle, somebody's brother, somebody's father, somebody's sibling. So basically, it might be your relative. From Musotho Stone, it's all good. Good night.